Good day, panelists. I am Colonel Rosario, and these are my classmates.
I am Gladys Jacinto.
I'm Francis Paulo Pistero.
I am Sofia Nicole Virandes.
Also, Mio Ismael P. Guzman. The researchers are from Humanities and Social Sciences strand from 11J Balagtas under the advisory of Ma'am Jessica C. Reyes. Today, the researchers will be discussing the study that they did with regards to the perceptions of senior high school students in learning practical research in new normal. To express our views in a clearer manner, we created this visual presentation that will help you understand what our study is all about. Background of the study. Education helps to provide knowledge, develop a logical attitude, and enhance the capability of an individual. Nowadays, it is challenging to teach practical research to the senior high school students, but it is a way and room for improvement and exploration. 21st century learning includes the promulgation of the Republic Act Number 10533, otherwise known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, or well known as the K-12 curriculum, which added 2 extra years to the basic curriculum, namely grade 11 and grade 12, and was considered as senior high school. As stated by the Department of Education, the K-12 curriculum will prepare the learners to be equipped with the required skills for the future. In order to prepare students with the required skills for the future, there are subjects that they added regardless of the strand the student needs to take, which they think will help them. One of those added essential subjects that students need to take is the Practical Research 1, Qualitative Research, and Practical Research 2, Quantitative Research, which aims to equip students with the ways and hows of doing a good research and come up with an output. Practical research aims to develop research literacy among senior high school students while recognizing that there may be other possible intervening factors in the delivery of the subject, which includes teacher competency, availability of learning resources, and etc. For the brief explanation, here is Mr. Staro.
Thank you, Mr. Rosario. The pandemic is expected to have enormous economic consequences, and it also has a devastating impact on global education. Therefore, the main reason for conducting this study is to analyze interconnected learning strategies that can help students learn and discover practical research. The results of the study can be used by teachers and students in senior high school teaching and learning practical research. It will be a planning for the appropriate teaching and learning strategies in coming up with the research output systematically planned with a sense of purpose. Thus, this study will investigate the key areas in the interconnected learning strategies employed to senior high school students that the students find most useful in coming up with the purpose. For the general problem, the study aimed to determine the perception of senior high school students in learning practical research in the world. For the specific question, what are the insights about the subject practical research? What are the learning strategies of senior high school students in learning practical research? What are the difficulties that encountered in understanding this subject matter? How does practical research 1 and 2 help students in maximizing proficiency skills in reading and writing? How does practical research increase students' knowledge and creative life? Next will be significance of the study, which will be discussed by Ms. Jacinto.
Thank you, Mr. Staro. Significance of the study. Students, this study will help students to learn effectively and get the best results of their grades. In this way, the students develop lifelong habits and try a new method of learning strategies. Teachers, this study will help them to be aware and identify of what teaching methods that they provide really understandable by the students to help them achieve learning outcomes. Society, this study will help societies to acquire knowledge by means of conducting a research study to solve any issue in their area and to contribute in our daily lives as human beings. Researchers, through this study, the researchers themselves know students' experiences and give some recommendations about studying practical research in this subject matter. Researchers should be able to defend their research confidently and communicate effectively. Future researchers, this study can be used as a guide or reference of the future of the future researchers related to the perception of senior high school students in learning practical research in new normal. For the scope and delimitation, here is Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you, Ms. Jacinto. Scope and delimitation. The study considers the students' in learning experiences in practical research and the reason why they find this subject most difficult. The participants in the study will be then selected senior high school students from different strands. 2 participants from STEM, 2 participants from UNS, 2 participants from BBM, 2 participants from TPM in national high school. This study is conducted on second semester of February to April 2020. For the research design, here is Mr. Sam.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. This study made use of qualitative research and descriptive case study method that aims to investigate and describe the different perception in senior high school student learning practical research in new normal. According to Mills Jury Post Webby 2010, a descriptive case study is focused and detailed case study in which statements and questions about the phenomenon are carefully examined and clearly expressed. It also enables the researchers to have a better view and understanding about the subject. The responses gathered from the participants is presented to the table of responses. For the research local and participants, here is Mr. Rosario.
Thank you, Mr. Estero. Research local and participants. Since we are in a qualitative type of research, the researchers use non-probability sampling in selecting their participants. Non-probability sampling disregards the random selection of the subjects. Participants were chosen through purposive and convenient sampling technique. According to Patent 2002, purposive sampling technique is widely used in a qualitative research. This to identify and select information-rich cases to make the best use of the limited resources. This involves identifying and selecting individuals or groups of individuals who are particularly knowledgeable about or experienced with a phenomenon of interest, Reswell and Clark 2011. On the other hand, convenient sampling technique is also known as the availability sampling. It's a method where the selections of participants is based on their ready availability. Participants provide the researchers ensure that appropriate research guidelines were followed and certain research ethics were acknowledged during the study's implementation and operation. Information of participants were made confidential. And the students' participation was entirely voluntary and they could withdraw anytime. For the data gathering instrument, here's Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Rosario. The researchers ensured that for this study, the researchers used a structured interview to gather responses to the participants. According to the Successful 2018, structured interview is a type of interview in which they are pre-planned questions and created in advance. The participants are asked with the same question in the same order. They were interviewed by means of online communication like Facebook Messenger, Google Meet, and face-to-face interview. For the data gathering procedure, here's this.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Data gathering procedure. Participants were given a letter to participate in the study, and the consent form was sent for approval. They were also reminded of the purpose of the study, and they could withdraw anytime. Once the participants grant the researchers permissions to conduct an interview, the researchers scheduled a date and time, and the said questionnaire was also sent to them. In the actual interview, the researchers take down notes in order to track the key points of their responses. A cell phone was used for online communication, audio recording to ensure a complete transcript of their responses. And to ensure a complete transcript of their responses and for documentation purposes. During face-to-face interview, the researchers followed the IETF guidelines in regards to COVID-19 health, and safety protocols. The participants' responses are given without votes, confidentiality. The questionnaire has a Tagalog translation so that participants can clearly understand it. They have the freedom to express their responses in English and Tagalog for everyone to understand. After gathering the responses from the participants, the researchers now then transcribe and then translate it to English. The last method was analysis, which is a great help for the researchers gain a better understanding of it. For the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data, here is Mr. Rizal.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Analysis of data. So we will be focusing on our question number 8 taken from our questionnaire. So it states that what part of your life did you make your own research study? The following emergent codes are formed. Number 1, from experience denoted by letter F. Number 2, situational denoted by letter S. Participants provided a variety of responses. 3 participants were transferred, so conducting a research study was very familiar to them since they were special science class students during their junior high school. 2 participants conducted their own research studies on purchasing a medicinal drug and 2 observations in their area on why young people choose to work rather than to study. 2 participants was conducting their own research study for the first time because in Filipino because they were 2 participants conducted their own research study for the first time in Filipino, especially in Pangasinan. 2 participants conducted their own research studies in our daily lives because they are dissatisfied of the information they have gathered and need to dig a bit deeper into the facts. Lastly, 1 participant answered that she was currently conducting her own research study but not had specified the topic. The following keywords are categorized from the emergent codes. We have from experience, former SSP student, pagbasa, and current. For in situational, we have purchasing a medicinal drug and through observation. Interpretation of data. Based on the gathered data, the participants claimed that their experience was helpful to expand their knowledge and skills in regards to making their own research study. For the summary of findings, here is Ms. Guibel.
Thank you, Mr. Sardi. Summary of findings. After reading, reviewing, and reflecting on the table of responses, the researchers formulated the following themes according to the responses gathered from the participants. Theme number 1. Describe the participants' judgment on the topic of research. Theme number 2 stated that senior high school students understand the subject on their own. Theme number 3 explains the perspective of participants by applying the lessons gained from understanding practical research.
In terms of self-studying, participants have different abilities to learn about the subject. They do not have enough knowledge about the subject, but in the process of learning, they can achieve positive learning outcomes and can further expand their knowledge. Practical research 1 and 2 seems to be difficult, but if you take time to learn, it will be easy for you to understand and you will enjoy during the learning process. Education is a continuous process. For the conclusions, here is Ms. Ramirez.
Majority of the participants, undergrade 11 senior high school students, describe research as one of the most difficult subjects. Their difficulty includes no experience of the particular subject, and the study revealed that their views on practical research were undeniable and acceptable. The participants' learning strategies are as follows. Participants seek help through professional and studying on research papers. The participants had advanced reading and in-depth analysis. The participants made use of advanced technology such as watching YouTube about the same subject. Most of the encountered difficulties of the participants about the subject are lack of guidance from the teachers and subject priming mindset about the subject. As mentioned during the interview, the research subject is the most difficult subject. The participants' responses results shows that practical research 1 and 2 help students by improving their overall academics. Practical research increases students' knowledge and every learns, and it helps to solve a problem, answers our curiosity about the phenomenon, and expands our knowledge through innovations. Recommendations, it will be discussed by the researchers.
The researcher recommends that teacher and student approach should be conducted 2 or 3 times per week so that teachers are more aware of the difficulties faced by the students in studying practical research, whether online or face-to-face approach. A precise schedule should be implemented and followed by the teachers in order to assist students in gaining knowledge and understanding about the subject practical research.
Number 2, the researcher recommends that the Department of Education should reduce giving workloads to the teacher for them to have enough time to answer the inquiries of their students regarding and maybe reminders. Number 3, the researcher recommends that teachers should listen giving units of schoolwork to the students in order for them to have
Number 4. The researcher recommends that students must create a study plan, practice time management, eliminate distractions, and try different kinds of learning strategies, which they think will be effective for them to understand the subject. Number 5. The researcher recommends that students should not be afraid in asking about their questions in inquiries to their teachers. Number 6. The researcher recommends that teachers should not practice being unresponsive, sinner and light-fuller to the students because students think that they were bothering. Being responsive and cooperative teacher is must-have.
7. The researchers recommends that the future researcher may consider doing a similar to this one but towards having our population to the respondents and still connected to the perception of senior high school students and learning practical research in rural.
And that concludes our presentation. The floor is now open to our panel and audience for queries and manifestations about this research.
Everyone, and may I congratulate first group who presented the practical research on events and for the very first time for the face-to-face. Anyway, I would like to introduce to you your panelists. We have Sir Paul, Elena, Manuel, Castro, and Jacinto. So they will be the one to ask questions or any additional suggestions or comments that may add any knowledge to your okay, so thank you, and may I open now the table for the any questions. We have practical research soon. Sana na. Kay Ma'am Marinel, English teacher natin, and Ma'am Maray, only po, for Filipino pananay.